Imagine this. The world is watching as King Charles, a man who sits at the very peak of Western royalty, steps forward and says something so bold, so unexpected, that it leaves people speechless. Not about politics, not about economics, but about faith, about Islam. Think about how shocking that is. A king who represents centuries of tradition, power, and authority, standing before the cameras and hinting at what many refuse to say out loud, that Islam is not fading away, not shrinking, not confined to deserts or distant lands, but rising in a way the modern world cannot ignore. And when he predicted that Islam would continue to grow, to shape societies, to stand as a global truth that could not be silenced, people gasped. But here's the thing, what if he's not wrong? What if deep down we all already knew this, because the evidence is everywhere? Islam is the fastest growing religion on earth, and that's not just a claim. It's a fact backed by data, history, and lived reality. Across continents, from the skyscrapers of New York to the villages of Africa, from London's bustling streets to the farthest corners of Asia, people are entering Islam every single day. Men and women, rich and poor, young and old, all different colors, languages, and cultures, united by one simple truth, that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why? In an age of technology, in a time when people have access to everything, entertainment, science, information, distractions of every kind, why are millions still turning to a faith that was revealed over 1400 years ago? That's where the story gets powerful. Because Islam isn't just surviving, it's thriving despite wars, despite colonization, despite endless propaganda. It's still here. In fact, it's stronger than ever. Think about it. Empires came and went. The Romans ruled, then collapsed. The Persians had power, then vanished. Colonial powers dominated, then crumbled. Modern superpowers rise and fall with every century. But Islam remains. It has been tested by fire, drowned in blood, attacked by every force imaginable, yet it rises again and again like a tree whose roots run too deep to ever be pulled out. And maybe that's what King Charles saw, maybe that's what made him speak, because history itself testifies that Islam cannot be erased. When the Mongols invaded the Muslim world, burning cities, killing scholars, and tearing apart civilizations, people thought Islam would be destroyed forever. But what happened? The Mongols themselves converted, bowing their heads in prayer to the very faith they tried to crush. When colonizers took over Muslim lands, forcing their languages, their laws, their ways of life, Islam should have weakened, but instead it spread even faster, carried in the hearts of those who refused to let it die. And today, in the 21st century, with all the stereotypes, with all the hate, with all the misinformation that fills the news, Islam is still growing. In fact, it's the very attacks on Islam that are making people curious, making them research, making them discover the truth for themselves. Because you can demonize something for only so long, eventually people want to see what's behind the curtain. And when they open the Quran, when they listen to Muslims explain their faith, when they feel the peace of the prayer, they realize something shocking. This is not what they were told. This is not terror. This is not backwardness. This is truth. A simple, powerful truth that speaks to the human soul, that life has meaning, that God is one, that we are here for a purpose greater than chasing money or fame or fleeting pleasure. And here's the part that makes it unstoppable. Islam doesn't just belong to Arabs or Pakistanis or Africans. It belongs to humanity. It's universal. It doesn't care about your color, your passport, your bank account. It speaks directly to the heart. And in a world full of chaos, anxiety, and emptiness, that message feels like water to a thirsty soul. That's why Islam is growing. That's why the numbers are unstoppable. And that's why when King Charles made his bold statement, it wasn't just a royal opinion, it was a reflection of reality. Whether people love it or hate it, Islam is not going anywhere. In fact, it's only getting stronger. And maybe, just maybe, the question isn't will Islam rise, but are you ready for it? Because history has already answered the first one. Now let's be real. Why do people in a world full of options keep turning toward Islam? Why is it that when someone searches for meaning beyond the surface level of life, when someone is tired of the endless chase for material success, when someone is broken, lost, or simply curious, they often find themselves standing at the doors of Islam? This is the part that shocks so many critics, because they expect Islam to be something people are forced into, something outdated, something irrelevant to the modern mind. But the truth is the exact opposite. People are running towards Islam, not away from it. They're choosing it freely from every walk of life, in countries where Muslims are a tiny minority, in societies where there's no social advantage to converting, no worldly benefit to gain, yet they embrace it anyway. Why? Because Islam offers what nothing else can: clarity, purpose, and peace of heart. It tells you that God is one, eternal, above everything, and not divided into complicated philosophies or man-made contradictions. It tells you that life is not random, that you are not an accident of evolution or a number in a system, but a soul with dignity, honor, and responsibility. It tells you that success isn't about how many zeros are in your bank account or how many followers you have on social media, but about the purity of your heart, the goodness of your actions, the justice you uphold, the compassion you show to others. And this message doesn't belong to one people, it belongs to all of humanity. That's why Islam has no chosen race and no monopoly on truth. It tells a white man in London, a black woman in Lagos, a farmer in Indonesia, a student in America, the exact same thing. You are equal, you are dignified, and you were created to worship the one God. And in a world drowning in racism, inequality, division, and arrogance, this message is revolutionary. That's why Islam continues to grow even where it's most hated. People read the Quran and are stunned by its clarity, by its simplicity, by the way it pierces the heart. They see Muslims bowing their heads in prayer 5 times a day and wonder what makes someone that devoted. They see Ramadan, when millions fast from dawn till sunset, not for health trends or diets, but purely for the sake of God, and they can't help but admire it. They see the unity of Hajj, millions dressed in the same white cloth, black, white, Arab, Asian, rich, poor, all circling the Kaaba together as one body, and they realize this is not just ritual, this is equality in action. And suddenly, stereotypes start to break. Suddenly, the false images painted by the media fade away, and what shines through is the beauty of a way of life built on discipline, faith, family, and peace. And here's something else that rattles the critics. Islam doesn't just survive modern challenges, it thrives on them. The internet, which they thought would destroy religion, has actually become the biggest dawah machine in history. A TikTok video of someone reading Quran, a YouTube clip of someone explaining prayer, a podcast about a reversion story. These are changing lives every single day. That's why Islam is spreading faster in the West than anywhere else, despite all the propaganda. Because once people actually learn, once they strip away the noise, they realize Islam isn't the monster they were told about, it's the truth they were searching for all along. And maybe that's why King Charles' words hit so hard, because he wasn't just making a prediction about numbers or statistics. He was pointing to a deeper reality. Islam is not just growing, it's awakening hearts. It's not just surviving, it's transforming lives. It's not just another religion on the shelf, it's a force of clarity in a world of confusion. And once you taste that clarity, once you feel that peace, you can never unsee it. You can never go back. That's why people who embrace Islam often say, it feels like I came home, because that's exactly what it is, the soul returning to its source. And no matter how much the world changes, no matter how much technology advances, no matter how many distractions and temptations are thrown at us, the human heart will always crave that truth. And Islam delivers it. That's why it's different. That's why it's unstoppable. And that's why when King Charles said Islam will keep rising, he wasn't predicting the future. He was describing the present. When you look back at history, the story of Islam is unlike anything else humanity has ever seen. Every empire, every civilization, every ideology has had its rise and its fall, glorious beginnings followed by painful endings. The Romans built cities, aqueducts, and laws, but eventually collapsed under their own weight. The Persians commanded vast armies and riches, yet they too were wiped off the map. The Mongols stormed across continents, burning, killing, and conquering, and for a moment it looked like nothing could stand in their way. Colonial powers stretched their flags across the globe, forcing languages, laws, and cultures onto millions of people, yet today they are shadows of what they once were. But Islam is different. Islam was born in the deserts of Arabia, revealed to an unlettered man, Prophet Muhammad, in a small corner of the world, yet it outlived them all. When the Mongols came with fire and blood, people thought it was the end of the Muslims, that the cities of Baghdad and Damascus would never recover. But what happened instead? The Mongols themselves embraced Islam. The very people who tore down mosques began to build them. The swords that were once raised against Muslims were now raised to defend the call of La ilaha illa Allah. That's not coincidence, that's destiny. And when colonial powers invaded Muslim lands centuries later, they brought armies, technology, and force. They banned the Arabic language in schools. They mocked the Quran. They tried to dismantle Islamic law. They forced new systems, and they thought they could erase centuries of faith. But the exact opposite happened. Islam survived in the hearts of the people. It was whispered in secret gatherings, recited in hidden schools, taught from memory when books were banned. And when the colonizers finally left, Islam was still there, unchanged, unbroken, still guiding millions. Even in the modern age, when media empires spend billions to portray Islam as violent, backward, and extreme, people are not turning away, they're turning towards it. That's the miracle. Every attempt to destroy Islam has only made it stronger. Every attack has only opened more eyes. Every insult has only created more curiosity. And the beauty of it is, Islam doesn't need armies or wealth to survive. Its strength doesn't come from palaces or politics. It comes from truth, from the Quran that has never changed in over 1,400 years, from prayers whispered in the night by believers who never give up, from the unity of a billion voices saying the same words 5 times a day, facing the same direction, bowing to the same creator. That's why Islam is still here, and that's why it will always be here. Because while empires are written in history books, Islam is written in the hearts of people, and hearts can't be conquered. That's what King Charles saw when he made his bold statement. He wasn't just speaking as a king, he was speaking as someone who studied civilizations, who saw how the so-called powers of the world rise and fall. But Islam continues. Think about it. If Islam could survive the Mongols, colonization, wars, and the modern propaganda machine, what makes you think it will stop now? If it couldn't be erased by fire and blood, do you really think it can be erased by hashtags and headlines? No chance. Islam has something deeper, something indestructible, something no army can touch: the truth. And the truth doesn't die.